Good evening, everyone. I'm Nathan, here with my wonderful wife, Laura.
Hello.
And we're here to do a review of the card game MindTrap.
Yes, well, kind of a card game. You'll see what we mean by kind of in a minute. It will challenge the way you think, or just make you extremely frustrated.
Yeah.
They don't put that on the box.
Yeah,
so.
look, I remember playing this when I was young, a little young tyke, 8, 9, 10, and it frustrated and I hated it then, and time has only made it more irritating. And this was a game that was everywhere. I see it at tons of op shops. I saw it when it was new. I can't get away from it.
Can't you? It's just chasing you down. So MindTrap is kind of, I would say, a logic puzzle game. You can play it in teams or just individuals. Like two people you can play with. If you have more than that, then you'd go into the team side of things. And you get logic puzzles, murder mysteries, as it says here, little trick questions read out to you, and you have to solve them to advance on the score sheet and get to the end.
Yes, and if you get to the end, you're declared, well, no one's really a winner playing this, I suppose. I really don't like this game.
I'm going to say straight away, the reason why Nathan doesn't like it is because some of these questions are seriously irritating and frustrating. Some of them are actual logic.
Yep.
Some of them are tricks that you can kind of figure out if you're paying attention, and some of them are just like, how would you know?
Look, let me tell you one that actually is a trick question but makes sense. So there was a gentleman going out in the middle of a storm, and he had no umbrella, and he had nothing to keep
rain hat.
Nothing to keep his head dry. Everything else was wet except the hair on his head.
No hair on his head was wet.
No, so how did that hair stay dry? Well, the answer is he was bald. He had no hair. Of course it stayed dry.
That's why no hair on his head was wet. So you can kind of work it out. You can kind of guess. It kind of makes sense. So let's talk about the gameplay before we go too far into the puzzles itself, shall we? So we have a
manual down below.
Yep, there'll be a link to the instructions. We've got a score sheet, was what I was going to say. So you have team 1 on one side. There's room to write like their names in, and team 2 over here. We still have quite a few left, so this second-hand copy maybe wasn't played that often.
I wonder why.
Okay, so you can either have team 1 or individual 1, and for some reason then they say to refer to them as team A, despite the fact they're team 1 on the sheet.
Bizarre.
I don't understand why. And then team B for number 2, or player 2.
That's the real riddle.
So each one of these squares gets marked off as you get one of your questions right, and you can either play the short version of the game, which just goes around here, or the long version where you would curve around here and go all the way through to the end. So team 1 or A has that kind of white squares, and team 2/B has these kind of grey shaded squares, so they can go to here or around to there.
And if you hadn't noticed, it's like an optical illusion.
Yeah, the score sheet itself. I think there would be a pencil with it. I'm not sure.
I think there's a pencil, and there's a special die. I mean, I use the term special loosely. It's 0 to 3.
Yes, so the reason why that's there is when you get a question right or a puzzle right, you can either just take 1 point. So you mark 1 square off, and then you get another turn at another puzzle to try and get some more and keep moving along.
So if you get, say, you can do it, and you get 4 questions right in a row, you move 4 spaces where the dice will only get you a maximum of 3.
Yes, so that's the route you'd go if you were really confident and you're really good at these puzzles, because you could probably end up getting a higher score. If you're not so good at these puzzles though, if you get 1 question right, you can actually roll the dice instead. So in this case, you would only still get 1, but your turn would be over if you roll it.
No, so I always roll the die. There is a 0, which sucks, but you can get 3, which means possibly several less questions you have to answer throughout the game.
Yeah, so again, it's going to depend on how good you are with the questions. The only other thing in here is our questions.
Yeah, so let's see if we can get a selection of, so there's logic, trick, murder mystery.
Those are the answers.
There's some math questions too in there.
Kind of. Alright, so you would take, say, if you're playing as just 2 individuals, obviously person 1's going to read the questions for person 2 and then vice versa. If you have a team, you'll pick 1 person in your team to ask your own team the question, and obviously the person who knows the question and answer can't tell you, the one who's reading it out. The question asker just rotates through the team as you go around, so depends on how you're playing. Anyway, whoever's turn it is, you take a MindTrap card.
By the way, did you explain? I wasn't listening because I was sort of looking at this and getting angry at the question.
Okay.
If one team fails to answer a question, the other team has a chance to answer it once and they can steal the point.
I did not explain that, but yes, so you can steal as well. Not so useful in an individual, 1 versus 1 game, because the person who reads the question is allowed to look at the answer straight away so that they can understand the answer. That's what the rules say. So obviously you can't then answer if the person you're asking it to fails because you've already seen the answer. So that only really factors in a team
Look,
game.
let's get into this. This is one of those
we're waffling.
semi-maths ones. Buckshot and Sam Sham, which, by the way, they've all got hilarious puns and names all throughout them.
They have.
Shot 100 arrows, each managing to hit the target 50 times. With the score tied, they broke for lunch. After the break, the shooting was not as sharp. Buck shot 89 arrows, but only managed to hit the target 13 times. Sam shot 50 arrows without hitting the target once. Buck claimed that his percentage after the break was better than Sam's, so therefore he must be a better shot. Sam naturally disagreed. Who had the better average for the day? And that's when I get this card, throw it on the ground and walk away.
So the person reading the question reads it out. They are then allowed to turn it over and read the answer, because the instructions do encourage you to, as the question asker, understand the answer, because
You have to try and explain it.
you might have to explain it. You might have to prompt the person giving the answer if maybe they say just one part of it, but the answer gives maybe more information. So as the question asker, you've got to know that they need to give you more than what they've said. So it can be hard.
So the answer to this one was neither. They would be tied. Buck took 189 shots and hit the target 63 times, giving him 1/3 in hits. Sam shot 150 arrows and hit the target 50 times, also giving him 1/3 in hits.
Yeah, so that one you could just sit there and work out if you have kind of the mind to do that.
Speaking of mind, do you see this little diamond here? That means the opposing team can ask a question about this and they can give a yes, no, or irrelevant answer.
Yes, so say Nathan was reading it to me.
Then I go, a survey was conducted of all the various mechanical modes of transportation people use to get to work each day. What did it find was the most common method of transportation? So then Laura could be like, you can ask me a question and I can give you a yes, no, or irrelevant.
I could ask something. I'm trying to think of what I would even ask. You could ask something like, was this here before, rockets were invented or something? If you thought rockets were going to be factored in or something like that, yeah.
Now, the answer was elevator, and I believe it's because it specifies mechanical modes of transportation, an elevator being, I suppose, a mode of mechanical transportation.
They're also in a lot of office buildings, so that's what you're actually using to get to it. You don't drive your car up into an office building.
So that's kind of a trick question.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, because most people think car, bus, train, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, I could say, I could ask something about when, if I wanted to try and factor in the decade or something, or something about the amount of wheels vehicles have, and Nathan would have, in all cases there, have to have said irrelevant. If we had another one where I could ask a question that Nathan goes, yes, the cat in the story was important or something, if it was a longer one.
Here's a riddle.
Oh, excellent.
In fact, Golan would be very happy with this riddle.
Dear.
While on safari in the wild jungles of Africa, Professor Quantum woke one morning and felt something in the pocket of his shorts. It had a head and tail, but no legs. When Quantum got up, he could feel it move inside his pocket. What's in its pockets? Quantum, however, showed little concern and went about his morning rituals. Why such a casual attitude? What was in his pocket, Laura?
I mean, I would assume it was a coin because it has a head and heads and tails.
Da 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 da.
Yeah. So some of them you can kind of figure out, and they're pretty straightforward. Some of them are like maths puzzles. Some of them are a little bit out there.
All right, here's the last one, because I just read this one.
Okay, great.
And it is the answers as long as the question. This is one that you could ask a question of me.
Yeah, so the diamond, that's the one that signifies that.
There is a famous diamond displayed in a room which measures 15 metres by 15 metres by 15 metres. The room is made entirely of concrete blocks and the floor is covered with a thick carpet. The only thing in the room is the diamond, which is housed under a glass cube. The glass cube stands on a 1 metre pedestal in the centre of the room. Alarm wires spaced 8 centimeters apart and running parallel to each other lie under the carpet. The alarm will trigger if more than 4 kilograms of pressure is applied to any individual wire. Sid Shady, who weighs 74 kilograms, which by the way I think this was produced in Sydney, Australia, hence the kilograms, was able to steal the famous diamond using the following equipment: a 5 meter 2x4 board, 4 leather straps, each 2 meters long and 5 centimeters wide, a hammer and a saw. How could he do it without triggering the alarm? I've forgotten half the question.
Yeah. So this is, I would say, where it comes in handy to be working in teams in this game, because then you can kind of bounce ideas off the people. Someone might think differently to you and kind of help out. Now, before we look at that just quickly, so this is where I could ask the questions, and maybe I'm thinking, that all sounds very suspicious, and I could say, is the hammer relevant to the question?
And I would read the answer and be like, yes, no,
or irrelevant. Yeah.
It says question. It doesn't actually specify. I think the manual specifies they can ask a question, but they don't specify. I think you can only ask one question.
We believe you can only ask one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sid Shady stole the diamond in the following manner. First, he cut the 5 meter 2x4 board in half. Then, using the available straps, he fastened the 2 boards to his feet like skis. With the board strapped to his feet, his weight was displaced enough so it did not exceed the wire's weight tolerance and trigger the alarm. Shady then slowly and carefully walked to the center of the room, smashed the glass cube with the hammer, took the diamond, and returned the same way he came in. And that answer is something that I'm sure no one ever got.
It's so elaborate. I mean, my first thought was he has to displace his weight, hence the wood. But it would never have occurred to me that he would have cut them and fastened them and done all these other things. My mind doesn't work that way.
So, yeah, we had more fun just reading some of these just casually to each other just for fun. Because some of them were pretty cool and a lot of them were not as fun to read.
Again, this is one of those games that you have to really be interested in this sort of thing, and you kind of have to have a mind for it, I think, to play it.
I played with my grandfather, and he was a goddamn wizard. I think he got almost every single one right that we read, and never play with him again. Infuriating.
Yeah, I think you need some people who are perhaps evenly matched as well. I think that makes a difference. I like these sort of puzzles, but I like reading them and then reading the answer, not so much having that pressure of needing to figure them out. I just think they're interesting.
What, you didn't know that Sid Shady used 2x4 boards cut in half as skis to steal a diamond?
No. This is definitely one, I just saw the answer, that you just have to make sure you're paying attention to the actual words. So in this one, they're talking about trees and fruit growth and things like this. So it owns a beautiful pear tree, but then it says how many plums will the farmer deliver? But they're growing pear trees.
That'd be none.
So the answer is none, because a pear doesn't bear plums.
Yeah, that's just you make sure you're paying attention. That's a reasonable one.
Yeah, so some are harder than others. Obviously that's to vary up the game and keep it interesting. But again, mileage may vary depending on what sort of puzzles and things you enjoy, how your mind works, and how patient you are, I suppose.
I can guarantee you tons of people play this if by how many I see secondhand of these, how often I see them.
Again, I really like the idea, but I would rather play it in teams and kind of have that discussion and have different people thinking in different ways to work them out together. Otherwise, I'd rather just read them and go, oh, that's interesting. So, not my favourite game. Like the idea though.
I like the idea too, but
it's not for you.
You get one of those infuriating questions, and if I had a table to flip, I would.
I see. If you enjoyed watching this video, give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comment section down below. If you like these logic puzzles, what's like your favourite little logic or trick question or puzzle that you've heard?
Because Laura's got quite a few, she always tells me, and I always get bamboozled because I forget the answer.
Yes, he does. Hit that subscribe button and check back soon. We have videos every single Tuesday.
Sounds good.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.